Hello, everybody. We are answering another question from Leo, and I got a message. I'm reading it on my phone. All right, so he has two questions, two awesome questions. The first one is, how do you handle conflict / how do you act in debates? So this is kind of interesting. So I find myself kind of avoiding conflict, not or mainly because there are many things I just don't find it necessary to make an issue, because a lot of the times, or a lot of the issues that arise, like for instance, I don't really care about if someone chooses to, if the curtains, this is just a weird example, if the curtains should be blue or red, that's kind of how I see most like conflict, and I'm not going to get myself involved in something so minuscule, to be honest. And so I'll either just avoid it, and if they ask me, then I'll say my opinion. But most of the time, I'll just kind of pardon myself from it. Though, if there is a greater debate going on, I guess the biggest thing is that my focus in a debate isn't really the debate itself, is it's what the debate alludes to, the bigger, stronger issues, because I find that a lot of like conflict and debate. So I guess the debate one I'm kind of more focusing on, but a lot of those things, I find debates are trying to trim the hedges or trim the weeds rather than pulling the weeds from the root. And so if I find myself kind of frustrated because I'm trying to imply there's a greater issue that is creating these the actual things that we're debating about, and it's a waste of time to debate about this. We should be looking at the greater cause of it. And so that makes me either just not really say anything directly in the debate of who I'm talking with. Very, very rarely do I actually go into a fuller debate, just because I find myself wanting to win them, and I do so by getting to know them, getting to express myself through, not directly, and so I'm not somebody who likes just to create debates and stuff like that. I'm somebody who likes to influence people by investing in them, if that makes sense. So my point gets across through my investment and involvement in their lives, and so hopefully that convinces them. But whenever I do get into a debate, I find myself not really sure how to express it, because I'm talking about something I would consider as a greater issue that is causing the debate at hand, and other people kind of lose, or I don't know exactly happens. They don't see it, and so I get frustrated, and whatnot. So I kind of end up just squirreling away and not getting involved with it anymore, because I just think they're just blind individuals. And with conflict, this one is kind of interesting. It depends who the person is. If they are someone I really care for, then I will find ways. What am I doing that is making the conflict worse? And or if it is just them creating the conflict and I care about them, I would try to find ways to not necessarily get them to recognize what they're doing, but to put them or to make them feel like that they are in a place of power. Because the problem is, a lot of times they would be acting the way they are because they are lacking something, and they end up creating these conflicts and whatnot. Though I did kind of come clean with a friend of mine recently and just said, look, what you're doing is jeopardizing this friendship. And I was very straightforward with him, but it was also under, I don't know, 3 or 4 years of just constant buildup and issues, and eventually I just had to say, look, you keep making these decisions, I can't follow you here, if that makes sense. So, but I'm not someone who's going to, I may hold grudges, sort of, but it's because I am acting in a way hoping that there's a better outcome based on how I'm approaching you, my change of approach to you. So I'm expecting change to happen, but I'm not going to burst into your room and and say all the things that you're doing wrong, because that's not going to do anything. What happens is, or what changes things, is through investment and influencing people in that way. So that's what I do with conflict and debate. So then the second question, it's so cold down here, I'm starting to shiver. How were you, or how were was, oh, I guess I missed a word. How were you as a child slash teenager? Did you already show the typical INTP traits? Question mark. And I'm going to put my computer down. So, as a child and a teenager, I was a complete a-hole. Ha! So if that's a trait of an INTP, well, I don't know. But I was highly manipulative. I was, what are some other problems? Just trying to figure myself out. And so I was in this constant strain that recognizing what I do annoys people. So that kind of influenced some things of how I behaved. But I was highly arrogant and prideful. I guess that kind of goes in the same place, but also angry. And I don't really know where that anger came from. Maybe it was just a lack of knowing how to fit in, or there's just these things in my head and I don't really know what it was. But during my younger years and teenage years, I was just really, really mean and really manipulative. And I think it was because I was always on cloud nine in another reality, and I never really could see people for who they really were. And I wanted to be a certain person, but I couldn't, or like I always felt like my mind was keeping me from being able to truly connect with people. I also thought that I was so freaking awesome and I was a Jedi and I was going to teach you how to be a spy and stuff. Yes, I did believe these things. And I was whack. And so there was not a lot of reality in my head. And so, I mean, you've probably seen some of those kind of people where they just are in another universe and they kind of treat everyone in a very strange way. They don't know how to be social. So that's kind of how I was. And so for typical INTP traits, yes. I mean, when I was a kid, I very much valued the accuracy of information. And actually, I was seen as a flaw in my family for a little while. They thought because since I needed to, like, say, clarify how many girls and boys were in the class, somehow that was a bad thing. When, to me, I very much valued to give the best accurate information. If I know it, I'm going to let you know so that you can make a better decision based off of the better, accurate information I give you. And I felt the responsibility to have to give you that information if I had it. And so some of that would come across as, maybe even what's the word, rebellious in some way or something like that, or trying to be a smart aleck. I'm like, no, I don't get it. But as a kid, you're still kind of figuring things out. Things are fine now, but I was remembering that a couple weeks ago. And but other things definitely, and also when I was first growing up, I really wanted to be a doctor, so I learned all of the body parts and even the scientific names of bones and all that stuff. I don't even remember any of that anymore. But what other things? Also, always wanting to do everything. An INTP thing is just being a jack of all trades, and I definitely had that from the get-go. I like geckos. No. So yeah, I definitely had them, and I have an INTJ father, and so a lot of his traits were trying to come in through me, especially just being the older child. I would try to emulate some of his more direct, and to me it would be harsh, but it's just J's are just far more finalizing. And so when I would try to behave like that in school, and I feel how people responded to that, was really interesting, and it made me kind of not really have an identity crisis, but I'm like, wait a minute, if I try to do what my dad does, I feel this repercussion. What do I do? And so I had to start learning who I am as a person, and parts about me are not flaws, but at the same time you have to recognize, yes, there also are flaws about you that you can't justify and allow to grow into greater problems, but there are pieces about you that you're just naturally born with that you want to encourage, and find where those strengths are. So hopefully those answer your question, Leo, or questions, Leo. If anyone else has questions, I would love to answer them. Just put it in the comment section in any video, and I will see you guys in another video or another life, and I'm going to get myself in these blankets because it is cold down here. All right, bye.